Hey everybody, Kuru Paul here. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you folks who have either temporary or permanent residency in Mexico how to notify INM of certain changes in your life. You're actually required by the law to notify INM within 90 days if any of the following things changed in your life. And those are change of address, change of job, change of name, change of nationality, or a change of civil status. When I say civil status, I'm meaning married, single, divorced, widowed, etc. Out of all those things, the most common one that people ask me about is how to notify INM of a change of address. So that's specifically what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, anytime I do a video telling people what they're supposed to be doing under the law or a certain regulation, someone will inevitably ask me, well, what if I don't, Paul? Like, what happens? What if I don't? So I'm going to go ahead and address that right now. Failure to notify INM of any of those changes within 90 days can result in a fine ranging from 1,924 pesos to 9,622 pesos. In US dollars, that would roughly be between $97 and $481. If this video seems a little familiar to some of you, it's because I actually covered this subject 5 months ago, but the procedure changed a little since then, so here we are. So there'll be 2 steps to this procedure. Step 1 is you're going to be filling out some online forms, which you're going to need to then print. Okay, keep that in mind. And number 2, you're going to be delivering those forms to INM, and you're going to have to bring your passport along and your resident card and make copies of both. Now, this is important. When you make copies of your resident card, you should have the front and back on the same page, okay? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to the URL that appears on the screen. You'll also find a link to it in the description portion of the video. And get this little aviso out of your way. Now here you're going to go to the big button here, Trámites Migratorios. Click on that. This is where you're going to find lots of different procedures that you can do at INM. Now let's talk about translating this using, say I'm in Chrome right now, and what you can expect. This page does work. So like here on mine, I have a little bar up here. And if I hit English, then sections of this are going to appear in English. Now, sometimes the translations are a little awkward, but you can get the idea. Now, these main buttons are just graphics. They're not changing. But if you hover over them, you'll be able to see what they are underneath in English. I don't personally like to use the English version. I mean, I can speak Spanish, that's why. And also, when you use the English, like I said, it does make some awkward translations, and sometimes only sections of the website will translate. Now, if you don't have a translator built into your browser like that, you can simply go to Google, hit translate, and right on top you'll see Google Translate. And if you'll just take the URL that I gave you and paste it in, over here you're going to see a link. Click on that link. And the site will be translated in English, but some components may not work, like you see here, warning, and this thing keeps spinning. But that's one thing you can do. As I said, I don't like to use the English version, so I'm going to be talking you through this using the Spanish version. And since the most common trámite you're going to do when you're notifying INM is a change of address, that's what we're going to be doing here in the video. So we're going to scroll down, and it is the first box here, Notificación de Cambio de Domicilio. The one next to it is if you're changing your job. The next one, you're changing your civil status, say you got married. The next one is you're changing your name. And the last one is you're changing your nationality. So we'll go back to our first one with our change of address. Click on that. This site is pretty user-friendly, and it will go through all the steps you need to do, requirements, everything else. We're going to start right up here with the Solicitud de Trámite. That's the main form that we're going to have to fill out. And once you get this filled out, you're going to have to print it, so make sure you have that ability. The first box you have, what do you want to do? And we want to notify of changes. And that's going to be for our temporary and permanent residents. Down here, we're going to specify exactly what we want to do. The second one on the list is to notify of change of address. We'll scroll down a little bit, and we're going to start filling in our information. Our first box here is where you're going to put your name or names. If you have your first and last name on your immigration document, you're going to need to type in both of those. And the next box is where your last name or last names will go. Sex, hombres for man, mujeres for woman. Here is where you have your birth date. And if you try to type it in yourself, it's going to be in day, month, year format. Otherwise, it's going to say it's not valid. What is your current nationality? If you're from the United States, you're going to choose estadounidense. Right here, you have your civil status. You can be married, divorced, single, in a free union, or a widower. Scroll down and we have place of birth. First box here is country of birth. If you are from the United States, you're going to be looking for Estados Unidos de América. This is where you would put the state, province, or department, depending what country you're from. Down in this section, you're going to be identifying what type of ID you'll be using. It's your passport or other document that identifies you as a foreigner. And passport is the preferred document to use here. In this box, you have your passport number, where your passport was issued, the date of issue of your passport, again in day, month, year format, the date of expiration of your passport. And this is the important part because this is where you're going to put your address. The first box is for your zip code, and when you fill that in, you'll notice that the state appears here, and it even filled in the municipality for me. Now the colonia, you may not know your colonia. It's not always super obvious. If you don't know it, you can ask around. Next one is the street that you're on. Next one is the exterior number, and that would be for the general address. And the other one is for an interior number. So the exterior number would be like for the entire complex, and then the interior number might be just for your apartment. This isn't a mandatory field, but they do ask for a landline telephone. Not many people have those anymore, so I have put a cell phone in here. The LADA is going to be the area code, and the rest of it goes over here. This is an important one too. This is where you're going to put your email, where you want to be notified of everything. In this next section, if you've authorized somebody to do this on your behalf, or you want them to receive notifications also, I'm not going to go through the steps to do that. If you're already doing this form on your own, chances are you didn't hire anybody. Down here in comments, just in case you think something else is relevant, you can add it. But otherwise, you are done with this form, and you're going to hit guardar. Then you want to scroll down to here. Is the information captured correct? Yes or no? You can do a little survey here where you're really happy with how this form worked. It seemed to work pretty well. Now remember, we want to print this, right? So we're going to do that here on Imprimir Ahora. It's going to download as a PDF. It consists of 3 pages. Here on the last page, you're going to have to put the place where you signed it. Also, you're going to put your name here. On the next box over here, you're going to have your signature and the date it was signed. So you're going to be bringing this form with you. It's pretty easy, right? So now we've got that done. We're going to go back to the original site. That's all done. And we're going to come down here to the next little box that says requisitos, or requirements. The next thing we want to do is we have to do a letter notifying of the change of address. Now this used to be done with a PDF that you would download and then have to fill out, and it was a pain, and they have improved the system. So what you're going to do is, our first option here is the letter for change of address if you're an adult, and down here is going to be a change of address involving a minor. So just stick with the top one here. They're both very similar. And we have something else to fill out. In our first block, we're going to have what federal entity are we in? And that's either going to be one of the Mexican states or Mexico City. We'll choose Quintana Roo. Current nationality. Remember, if you're from the United States, estadounidense. Up here on top, you have the name of the foreigner. That should be your name, unless you're doing this for somebody else. And you're going to have the date of change. When did you start living at this new address? On this first block, you're going to put what your previous address was, and this should be the address that is already on file with INM. Otherwise, they're going to be asking you questions. And on the line under, you're going to put your current address, and you've got to prove you're not a robot. And actually, this is the most difficult part of these things for me. Let me see if I can do it first try. I rarely can. If you think you've got it right, come down here to Generar. Oh, hey, it worked first time. So this is my letter, and we're going to have to print this as well. You can hit your little button here to download it as a PDF if you want to print it later. And it's going to look like this. It just consists of one page. You're going to print it and then sign here where it says firma. Now, every INM office seems to work a little bit differently as far as whether or not they're going to ask for some type of an appointment or how that appointment is made. My recommendation is to just bring these documents over to the INM office, because this is a simple trámite to do, simple procedure, and then just say, hey, can I just do this right now, drop this off and leave? And if you can't, they'll say no and tell you what the procedure is. I wish there was a more uniform way of doing that. If I could tell you this is how it's done at every INM office, but well, that's just not going to happen. You know, Mexico is consistently inconsistent. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, if you do me a favor and give it a thumbs up, it just helps with that whole YouTube algorithm. And until next time, hasta luego.